So, shall we start?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Namaskar. Good afternoon to everyone.
Sir, 1 minute, sir. Sir, at first, I am express your introduction, sir.
Okay.
Please give me only 2 to 3 minutes, sir. Only 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay. Go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you. So, good afternoon, one and all. I, Professor S.P. Chavan, on behalf of G.K. Guzar Memorial Trust, Charitable Trust, Dr. Ashok Guzar Technical Institute, Dr. Dauludrao Air College of Engineering, Karad, welcomes to the 5 days session 10 FDP, ATAL FDP on Industry Academia Synergy in Disaster Management and Resilient Infrastructure for Advancing Sustainable Development. So, dear participant, today we are having with us one renowned resource person, namely Engineer Rajendra Pawar, born on 15 July 1962 from rural area of Solapur district. After completing graduation in civil engineering in 1983 and masters of engineering in structures from Pune University, he joined Water Resources Department of Government of Maharashtra through Public Service Commission. He retired as Secretary CADA, head of the department in July 2020. During his 35 years tenure in government service, he has varied and enriched experience in construction of irrigation and hydro projects such as dam, canal, and allied structures, hydrology and planning, dam safety, research, reclamation of saline lands, water conservation works, rehabilitation of villages, and so on. He is responsible for implementing advanced technologies and innovative ideas such as mechanized lining of canal, ferrocement technology, pipeline distribution network for irrigation, drone surveys for mapping of irrigated lands, and e-billing for water cess collection, real-time data acquisition system of climatic parameters for flood forecasting, synchronized flood management system, etc. As the chairman of the committee for the preparation of integrated state water plan, first of its kind in India and which is approved by the State Water Council, he actively contributed for detailing and providing guidelines for the new projects. His initiative for the reforms in the department has led to state in bagging best state award in water sector consecutively for 2 years from the Ministry of Jal Shakti Government of India. The innovative ideas such as formation of advanced technologies approval mechanism committee, digitization for irrigation management, water budgeting and auditing, benchmarking reports, policy for promoting tourism at dam location, and many other found long-lasting impact and giving fruitful results. She also had opportunities to attend many international conferences as in abroad, have interaction with global experts from the fields of dam safety, irrigation management, ferrocement technology, integrated water resources management, sustainability of water resources, climate change impact, etc. He has worked as a chairman of expert study committee for floods 2019 for finding reasons of flooding and suggesting remedial measures and submitting the detailed report to the government of Maharashtra. He has also worked as an honorable member on planning committee for the draft development and plan of under the plan of PMRDA, the largest metropolitan plan of the state. He is honorable member of State Disaster Management Authority, Mumbai, nominated by Government of Maharashtra. He is honorary working as a director, managing committee, SSSPM Barshi as a social service. He is actively working for the society in the in field of integrated approach for water security, climate change, water conservation. He has written many papers on this technical issue in various journals, conferences, magazines, and news articles. So once again, I warm welcome of our today's resource person and all participants And I request Pawar sir, please continue the charge.
Yes, thank you, Chavan sir. Good afternoon to all. Before I start my presentation, I would like to pay my very sincere and heartfelt tribute to my beloved friend and, of course, your college most favored professor, late Mr. Madhav Kumtekar. His sudden demise has given a very large impact on our lives. May his soul rest in peace. आपल्यापैकी मराठी सगळ्यांना ऐकायला येतं ना, म्हणजे समजायला काही अडचण नसावी. मी दोन्ही मराठी आणि इंग्लिश दोन्हीचा मिक्स भाषेचा वापर करणार आहे. कारण विषय जो मला दिलेला आहे तो डिझास्टर मॅनेजमेंट अँड रेजिलियन्स इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर फॉर ॲडव्हान्सिंग सस्टेनेबल डेव्हलपमेंट. तर याच्या बाबतीत फार हायली टेक्निकल वाटू नये म्हणून मधून अधून मी मराठीमध्ये पण बोलणार आहे. फ्लड डिझास्टर हा माझा आजच्या प्रेझेंटेशनचा फोकस राहणार आहे, कारण मी वॉटर रिसोर्स डिपार्टमेंटमध्ये काम केलेलं आहे. पण त्याच्यासोबतच त्यातला प्रत्येक शब्द बेसिकपासून आपण थोडंसं समजून घेण्याचा प्रयत्न केला तरच आपल्याला नेमका प्रॉब्लेम काय आहे आणि त्याचे सोल्युशन्स कशा पद्धतीने असू शकतात हे समजून घ्यायला मदत होईल. सो आय विल बी कव्हरिंग इन माय प्रेझेंटेशन. Just a moment. Yeah. नॅचरल डिझास्टर्स काय असतात, त्याचे काय इम्पॅक्ट असतात आणि त्याचे लॉसेस याच्याबद्दल आपण सुरुवातीला माहिती करून घेणार आहोत. देन वी विल सी द इम्पॉर्टन्स ऑफ द वॉटर, which will be the most precious commodity of the future. What are the present challenges for water security and the impacts of climate change? All these factors we are trying to understand. And the institutional roles and policies done by the government to mitigate all these disaster challenges, how the government is prepared, and what we all need to be done, that will be covered. Then going about the floods ahead, we will see can really the floods can be controlled or mitigate properly. What is flood management, and that too for the creation of resilient infrastructure for sustainable development. And at various levels we can do it, at basin level, at urban levels. And then we will see some past experiences of flood mitigation measures done before, with a case study of our Krishna basin. What were the actual reasons of occurrences, mitigation measures, and lastly, what about our mother nature? The natural disasters can be the earthquakes, floods, droughts, landslides, thunderstorms, cloudbursts, lightning, tornadoes, cyclones, hurricanes, tsunami. All these are natural disasters which we cannot predict precisely, and of course to control them, to give the minimum impact on our lives, to minimize our losses, the lives, the properties, the financial losses, and everything. So nowadays, due to the advanced technologies, many of these are predictable, but still they give a very short duration for the preparedness and to save our lives and the properties. But we can be certainly prepared to face these natural calamities to minimize the impact and the losses. Though these occurrences seem to be natural and unprecedented, it is actually the nature's signal given to the mankind that some big occurrence or big event is going to happen if the things are not restored properly. So as our body gives us signals if there is some disease which is coming, Similarly, the nature also gives through these natural disasters signals to the mankind. So we should see through this angle towards these natural disasters and to uh, make ourselves confident to handle them. We also need to find out the factors that cause such calamities, whether those are really natural or they are man-made or there are so many other reasons. And we should try to restore the imbalance in the nature. Out of all these natural disasters, which we have listed initially, the floods are the most devastating in nature with respect to the losses done by them. Of course, depends upon the magnitude and the area which is affected due to these disasters. But the other disasters are normally a local one affecting that particular areas. But the floods are having a very large impact over a larger spatial scales. Uh, to know, before going to the floods, we should know the importance of the water first. See, this natural disaster, similar to the floods, the equally important is the disaster of droughts also. And both these two phenomena are totally contradictory and opposite to each other. We know in droughts we have water scarcity in major, and its side effects are also there. And during floods, it's excess of water which is not required, which we cannot handle, and the losses or the impacts done by the floods on our livings. So we should try to understand the water, the utilization of the water, the need of the water for all of the human beings, and then we will be able to know exactly how these situations can be handled. Uh, Basically, we should understand that water is a natural and very scarce resource. The basic resources given by the nature are water, air, and food. And that is fundamental for the life, our livelihood. Simultaneously, we also need a food security. आपल्या 3 मूलभूत गरजा ज्या आहेत, अन्न, वस्त्र, निवारा, त्यातलं पहिलं जे अन्न आहे, त्याच्यासाठी सुद्धा पाण्याची अत्यंत गरज आहे. आणि या बेसिक रिसोर्सेस, नॅचरल रिसोर्सेस ज्याला आपण म्हणतो, त्याच्या आधारेच आपण आपली डेव्हलपमेंट ही आपली चालू असते, आपण करत असतो. आता ही डेव्हलपमेंट सस्टेनेबल कशी राहील, लॉंग लाईफ कशी राहील, आणि हे जे वेगवेगळे डिझास्टरच्या माध्यमातून वेगवेगळे आघात होत असतात, ते पचवण्याची सुद्धा क्षमता या आपल्या डेव्हलपमेंटमध्ये असायला हवी. आणि म्हणून त्यासाठी रेझिलियंट इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर याची आवश्यकता असते, तरच ही डेव्हलपमेंट सस्टेनेबल राहू शकते. आता आपले नॅचरल कंडिशन्स काय आहेत किंवा नॅचरल कन्स्ट्रेंट्स काय आहेत ते पहिल्यांदा समजून घेतलं पाहिजे. तर इंडिया हॅज more than 17% of the world's population. But contradictory to that, we have only 4% of world's renewable water resources, with only 2.6% of world's land area. So, if we see towards the population, certainly all the major developments are eaten away by the population, and we are always in scarce of the natural resources as well as the food and energy. So this nexus of water and energy is more important for the sustainability of the human mankind. But against all these natural constraints, we have to overcome them with the proper planning. The limits on utilizable quantities of water owing to uneven distribution over time and space. The rainfall which we receive every year is not equally distributed all over the India or even all over Maharashtra. It is very uneven. We can easily see the dividation of the Maharashtra state in major two parts geographically. The western part, the left side of the Sahyadri Mountains, is the Konkan, which is having a very low altitude, and the entire Maharashtra towards the east side is at higher altitude, and that also makes the variation in the rainfall patterns. Similarly, the soil characteristics, the mountains, its height, the climatic changes, all these are factors affecting the uneven distribution of the rainfall. And that's how we get the uneven water for different districts and different areas. The challenges of frequent floods and droughts in one or the other part of the country, that we always see that simultaneously in some part of the even our state we feel higher floods and the damages thereof, and in other part we need to face the drought situations where the water is very scarce, particularly at the same time. So the possibility of deepening water conflicts among different water groups. So this is the future of the water if we cannot manage, handle, or distribute it evenly for everybody's needs and to fulfill their demands. So these water conflicts shall be avoided, and we should plan in such a way that the water security is achieved for every person living on this earth. Uh, Not only every person, I would correct myself, every species, because that angle also we should keep in mind that on this earth, not only the human mankind, but also the jungles, trees, the animals, birds, fish, and all these aquaculture and other species are also living. They are also having equal right on these natural resources like water, air, and other things. And without keeping their share in our mind, we are just extracting whatever resources we can from the mother nature, and that's why this problem is created, and it can be said as the man-made problems. So uh, equally, we are having very low public consciousness about the overall scarcity and economic value of the water. Since the water and air are freely available given by the nature, we are totally going behind by uh, utilizing it uh, in a very unplanned manner, by destroying its quality, increasing pollutions and other things, and simultaneously we are also suffering from all these results. So considering this importance of the water, what are the present challenges that we will see so that we can find out the solutions for this? First is the water security, which we just now discussed, that how much important it is. Because without water, you cannot live long. And many other things are affected, including the food and other necessities which are required for us. And to add to that, some more challenges are coming, like a climate change, which is a major threat, and many people are still unaware about this coming problem. We will discuss that in detail later. So, as we see, the food security is the most important for us, and that is totally dependent on the water security. So that's how the water becomes more important than any other resources we need. So what are the current challenges? The first is geography. As we have just seen in our Maharashtra, we are having a very difficult geography uh, through the angle of the rainfall, uh, precipitation, and the water availability in all the areas. There is a natural imbalance. We have seen the rainfall in the Sahyadri ranges and particularly in Krishna Basin is better or much higher, even up to 3000 millimeters per year. And in the remote areas in Marathwada and some parts of Vidarbha, or even if you go just 100 kilometers from the Sahyadri towards east, this rainfall, average annual rainfall reduces even up to 200 to 300 millimeters only. So this large range, the high variation is the natural imbalance given by the nature to us. Again, we are always short of the sustainable sources of water, which actually gives us the water security. The lift irrigation scheme for irrigations, irrigating the fertile lands, or even water supply schemes for any city or any society. So the source of water is more important, which should be the sustainable. That means always 24 by 7 and throughout the 12 months, which the water should be available at that source. Then only a continuous supply can be given and we will get the water. Uh, but that sources need to be harnessed and maintained properly. The another challenge is the reducing allocation of water for agriculture sector. We know out of the total water available, the majority of the available water, up to you can say 75 to 80%, goes for the agriculture sector, around 10% for the industrial and other sector, and about 15% is for the domestic usages. So this major chunk of 75% of total water available is required for the food security. But nowadays, due to the increase in population, the fast developments in the cities, and the growing demands of industries and even other sectors, the, the available water remains the same every year. So we have to reduce the allocation of the water of the agriculture sector and divert it to the industrial or for domestic usages where the demands are more and the priorities are the changed. So that is another challenge we have to face. Growing population, of course, is a major challenge. Control of the population is also difficult, but simultaneously to feed every person, every soul living on this earth, we need to supply water, and that is the major challenge. The water pollution, air pollution, soil pollution, these are the basic causes of this all mess what we are facing today. And the control of these pollutions is a major challenge before all the countries globally. Similarly, the mining activities, the deforestation, huge cutting of trees, and we know all the ecological and environmental impacts done by these actions. And these are the major issues before us for the water security. But, and well, of course, have done many measures implemented, and also the policies of the government are also according to that. So we will see what kind of infrastructure or the institutional roles are there in mitigating these challenges in the further slides. Uh, about the climate change, which I want to stress that everybody should know what is coming for even the current generation as well as for the future generations. The IPCC, the Intergovernmental Group of Climate Change, which is the group of the world experts in climate and other studies, a global community of experts, they have warned with deep concern about the overall effects on each part of the countries due to global warming, air and water pollution. So they have highlighted the pollution is the major reason for these climate changes. So according to their scientific assessment, the temperature of the earth will rise by 1.5 degrees Celsius. It looks very small, but due to the greenhouse effects and which will be visible in adverse impacts on natural disasters with increasing numbers. So all these natural disasters, if we see or take the historical data, we see the number of occurrences are increasing and with a very rapid growth. So that is the major impact due to these climate changes. The natural disasters including all, even the earthquakes, the floods, even the tsunamis, even the cyclones. All such disasters are increasing day by day, and the rate of increase is also higher. So what we expect that in 10 years nothing will happen. The same disaster may come in just next year or year after two. So this is a major threat to all of the human mankind on this earth. If the rise in temperature goes about 2 degrees Celsius, then the situation will be out of control of human beings. This is the warning given by all the experts of the world. It has become dire necessity now that all countries must come together immediately and in well-planned manner to implement action plans for pollution control. And further, for the guidelines to prepare various action plans for all the countries, the IPCC has issued the Sustainable Development Goals, we call them SDGs, for the various action plans and for the implementation purpose. So the first summit was there in 2020. After every 2 years, these summits are held at various places. Recently, in 2024, I think it was in Bali, and again they are assessing the actions taken by various countries, the pollution levels, whether they are being controlled, and what the further mitigation measures can be taken. So at global level, these actions are already rolled out. Again, to highlight further, the changes in natural climate in the Earth's atmosphere, that means the climate change. So climate change is not only that आज थंडी पडली उद्या उन्हाळा आहे मग पुन्हा गरमी होणार आहे हा लोकल एन्व्हायरमेंटचा हा भाग झाला क्लायमेट इज अबाउट दी अर्थ्स ॲटमॉस्फिरिक चेंजेस and consequently the natural water cycle and the environmental cycle also gets adversely affected. So that's how we see our natural water cycle, like the regular monsoon pattern, which was regularly coming in centuries together between 4 months, say June to September, October, then the winter for 4 months and the summer for 4 months. This cycle has been totally disturbed now in just last few decades. Simultaneously, the environmental cycle that is also has been disturbed and the side effects which we are facing now. So all these changes directly affect the lifestyles and daily routine of the human beings along with huge losses of lives, properties, infrastructures, basic amenities and crops. This also affects the food production in great way, threatening the food security itself and also the inflation. In last 20 years, the number of cyclones in Arabian Sea, see the phenomenal changes in our own areas, that has been increased by 52%. I think in our previous generations have not seen a single cyclone in Arabian Sea. The majority were there in the Bay of Bengal, coming from that side. But in recent 5 to 10 years only, the number of cyclones in Arabian Sea has increased by 52%, and while that in the Bay of Bengal has reduced by 8%. The huge global pollution in last 50 years has reduced and erratically changed the monsoon rainfall pattern in India. The global effects are like that. Any change in the environment, even in the other continents, that directly affects the Indian and also the Maharashtrian skies. The speedy urban development is the major cause for the disasters like cloud bursts. These are the findings of the experts. According to the reports from IMD and IITM, which is specifically the controlling, also collecting data about the environment, the monsoon pattern is changing very fast in India as well as in Maharashtra. The adverse effects are seen in the form of a rise in temperatures, erratic rainfalls, heavy rainfall in short period while increase in dry spells, cloud bursts, simultaneous flood and drought situations. In last few decades, even we are also having data with the government of Maharashtra that Bhima Valley experienced higher rainfall than its average annual figures. The heavy floods were observed in years 1961, 2005, 2006, 2008, 2019, 20, and are still increasing. So during the same period, Marathwada and some districts received lesser rainfall. So these are the changing patterns of the rainfall, and that's how it directly affects the water security. Now let us see what are the institutional roles and policies. Uh, we have the State Disaster Management Authority under the Relief and Rehabilitation Department of Government of Maharashtra that deals with all the disasters in our state of any kind. Seeing through the mitigation measures, the policies are prepared by them and implemented particularly by the revenue and the home departments for the relief measures and to minimize the losses and the restoration of the development. Uh, Particularly about the disasters related to water, we have our Maharashtra State Water Policy in 2003, uh, first adopted by our Maharashtra uh, than any other state in India. And later, in 2005, we have Maharashtra Water Resources Regulatory Authority Act, which was enacted to create the major institutes like river basin agencies, State Water Board, State Water Council, and Maharashtra Water Resources Regulatory Authority, that is MWRRA. So all these are in place and they are working and regulating all the water distribution and its efficient usages to mitigate all the demands of every stakeholder. The river basin agencies, that means we have already formed the 5 corporations like Krishna Valley Corporation, Marathwada Corporation, and like that. So those are formed on the basis of the river basins. Like for Krishna Basin and Bhima Basin, this Krishna Valley Corporation is there. For part of the Godavari in Marathwada, that corporation is there. For western flowing rivers in Konkan area, the Konkan Corporation is there. So we have already taken steps in that direction. The State Water Board, uh, comprising all the heads of the department, that is secretaries of all the department, and headed by the Chief Secretary. State Water Council is headed by the Chief Minister himself, and many ministers are the members. And this MWRRA is having an independent and quasi-judicial authority, which is having all powers to relate the water issues. We have also prepared a plan, the Integrated State Water Plan in 2018, which is also the first of its kind in India, where the availability water in each segment, each sub-basin, or we can say even in each watershed, has been evaluated, the water used in that particular area, the balanced water, if there is any scope for the future projects like irrigation projects, hydro projects, and any other things, just to store water. All these things have been covered in this plan, and the plan up to 2030 has been prepared for the construction of new projects in this integrated state water plan. Why it is integrated? Because all the water stakeholders, not only the irrigation, but the agriculture, the industrial department, or any other department, such 23 departments are there who are related with the water usages, are brought together under this plan, and every department has given some assignment, the responsibilities to handle these issues. And together these plans are implemented, and that's why we can get some action-oriented results. We are also having a separate groundwater development authority, which is the another major source for the water, uh, apart from the rainfall we receive every year. We are also having Maharashtra Water Pollution Control Board, which looks after the pollution control measures about the air pollution, about the water pollution. Even for soil pollution, we take some measures through the agriculture department, and the steps are being taken to control the overall pollution and the impact on the environment due to this. So these are some institutions which are already we have created, and we are working together with the help of these, and the government policies are also there. While practically on field, at global level, we have seen initially that this IPCC and some SDGs, based on this, all countries are working. In our Maharashtra, we have the Water Resource Department, particularly to deal with all water-related issues, and they have frequently comprised some committees, study committees, to study the flood-related issues, and also the causes for the drought situations. And based on their findings and their recommendations, the government implements the mitigating measures. So in last 5 to 6 years, we have major experts flood study committees for Krishna Basin and Bhima Basin, because these are two vulnerable basins in our state. And the experts were at national level experts, right from Central Water Commission, the chief engineers from them, the director of IMD, director of IITM, many professors from IITs, and some secretaries and high-level officers from Water Resource Department also. So these committees have given detailed report studying all the aspects in these two basins. We have their recommendations, and the works are now being implemented, particularly in Krishna Basin. Recently, some tenders have also been plotted with the help of World Bank aid, and the works are going on. Every year during monsoon, the WRD has a major role for the flood monitoring. Again, there are limitations. Basically, we all know that the dams are with the Water Resource Department, and they are controlling the floods. This is a common man's belief, which are living in the cities downstream. But you will be surprised to know that not a single dam in Maharashtra has been designed for the flood mitigation measures. There is no provision or no space left reserved, particularly for the flood storages. But yes, certainly with the help of the dams as a tool, using them as a tool, we can moderate the flood situations. We can temporarily store the flood water incoming into the dam from the upstream catchment areas, and release it moderately through their spillways in a controlled manner to minimize the flood effects at the downstream areas. So for this, the dams are designed particularly keeping in view our drought situations, because in our Maharashtra, or particularly in India, we can say, the monsoon pattern gives us the rainfall only during 4 months out of the 12 months of a year, unlike in other countries. So we have to store water during these 4 months given by the nature, and utilize it for the remaining 8 months for our demands. So the dams are designed keeping this point in view, that sufficient water should be stored, and it should be maintained and then distributed for the uses in the another 8 months. So while doing this, now the pattern has been changed, and if the excessive rainfall is occurring in the upstream catchment areas of the dams, then the dams have very limitations to mitigate these large floods. I will give just one example. In 2019, our data says that, say, take example of a Koyna dam. It's having approximately 100 TMC of the storage capacity. During the 2019, just in 3 months, June, July, and August, the total water received from the upstream catchment area of the Koyna Dam was to the tune of 350 TMC. That means 3.5 times the Koyna's total capacity itself. So this excess water has to be released to the downstream. So in such situations, the dams become useless for the flood control. So then, what is the another major cause for flood situation? The particularly if we see in the Krishna basin, the locations of the dams, the rivers flowing in the low-lying areas and near about cities is another phenomena which is creating this situation worse. We will see that in detail when we discuss the case study at the latter part. But the WRD certainly helps in monitoring these floods during the monsoon period. Before that, with the help of the data from IMD and IITM, they do flood forecasting also. We have installed very latest automated rain-gauge stations and the data acquisition system in the upstream catchment areas, where we can get the real-time data just in few minutes at the control center. Then we can analyze and we can also forecast that how much flood is coming at what time and how much is to be released water from the dam spillways. So accordingly, we can manage in a better way the spillway controls. Simultaneously, the flood lines are marked on the both banks of the rivers, red line, blue line, even yellow line, the actual flood lines, the highest flood lines in the history. So all these lines are marked so that the people are aware that the water may come up to this line. So we should not do any kind of development or any kind of investment in those prohibited areas. So these warnings are given, and simultaneously some structural and non-structural mitigation measures are also being conducted by the WRD. So this is the role played by WRD in flood mitigation. Simultaneously, we're also having disaster management cells. So during monsoon period, at Mantralaya itself, there is a major disaster management cell, which is always 24/7 in contact with the politicians to receive the directions. The revenue department, agriculture department, home department, the local bodies like Jilla Parishad, the various corporations, and the teams like Defense, NDRF, and others are always there for the relief measures after the disaster happens and to restore the situation. So this infrastructure we have already created and we execute every year during the monsoon period. We have also adopted a climate change adaptation policy approved in 2016, where the integration of all the departments is done, and every department has given certain role to play to implement these flood mitigation measures. Another factor is about the water literacy, as we discussed in the initial slides, that the crisis of water is almost many people are unaware of that, what the exact situation is, and that's why the usage is very incipient, very in unplanned manner. The wastages, the leakages are more, and that's why the water literacy is more important. We should know how much water is available, how much we should use, what are the priorities of the water to be given for the usages in different sectors. And we should also preserve the environment by giving back some water to the nature itself, which will be as a reserve for the future generations. So all these things should be taught right from school to college students, and also to the citizens of India. Finally, considering all these policies and the experiences and the various suggestions given by the experts, an integrated water resource management system has been developed, which is accepted all over globe, which is practiced everywhere, where the every sector of the water utilization is very well planned in advance. The proper allocation is done, and within that allocation only, the utilization is to be done very efficiently so that we will be able to manage the water perfectly, keeping some part for the future also. So this is a major tool now available with all of us to manage the water crises. Now coming back to the floods core topic. This is the situation, this is the aerial photograph when we did the air survey during the flood situation in August 2019. This is the photograph of Krishna River uh, near Sangli, and you can see the special area covered or rather submerged under the flood situation. So about the floods now, let us understand the floods. We cannot stop or control the floods completely. This is the first thing to be kept in mind. As we have seen, the dams only cannot control all the floods incoming from their upstream side, store it, hold it, and then release very slowly. We can only try to minimize the losses. This is the thing what we can do. When dams were not there, our dams were constructed in last say 50 to 100 years. Before that also the floods were coming and they were passing. But the damages and losses were very meager at that time. So now who is the culprit? The rainfall pattern was very systematic, the usages were systematic, and the losses were minimum. This pattern we have disturbed, we have developed in a very haphazard way, very in an unplanned manner, encroached upon the natural drainage system, and that's why these situations have occurred. Even dam itself is also an obstruction to the flood in a way, and that creates accumulation of the water in the upstream side. Similarly, even in the cities, if there is obstruct to the flow of the water, then the flood situation arises. So this is a simple reason for the creation of the flood. As we have seen, the most devastating disaster giving huge losses is the floods only, as compared to the other natural disasters. The human lives, livestock, loss of properties are there. The basic amenities like water and power supply, roads for communication, food, medicines, and many such things get affected. The restoration is difficult and it's very time consuming. So that's how this situation needs more extensive planning and the fast restoration of the situations. But with the advanced technologies now, since we can forecast the rainfall occurrences and the consequent floods, we can be prepared to face such situations and minimize the losses. The relief operations and rehabilitation activities are also required to be done immediately after any disaster, and that needs huge funds. So this is overall scenario of the floods and the mitigation measures. So what is adaptation? So you can, as there is a saying in Marathi, if you cannot avoid the rape or any such natural thing, natural disaster thing, then you should be able to uh, enjoy it, live with it, and be with it so that the pains and the losses will be minimized. I will give one example again, say about the Japan. In Japan, the number of earthquakes are much, much more than in any other country. But the people living over there, right from the kids to the elderly people, Everyone is well aware of this such situation can occur at any moment, and they are always prepared to face this natural disaster. One example was given by my friend who lived in Japan, and he was a teacher over there. When he went first time in that country, and the earthquake happened during the class, immediately he couldn't understand then what to do and how to save all these children and where to go. But the children were so trained since beginning by the family members or even their school teachers in the school that they quietly sat down below their desk, and in their bag there was a kit specially provided in case of such emergencies. Some necessary things were there, little food, some medicines, some mask and that kind of thing. And after the earthquake is over, they quietly came out, sat there on the desk as if nothing has happened. So this is the effect, uh, or the we can say the benefit of the training, the proper training, the adaptation. They are adapted that the situation is there, we cannot avoid, but how to face it is the our own preparedness and the adaptation of the situation. So this is a one of the major thing to be adopted by all of us. Again, coming about the flood management, here for the planning of mitigation measures, there are two things of the floods. One is at the basin level, like the floods in Krishna River, floods in Bhima River, floods in say Penganga River. So we have to take a basin level approach there, considering the entire basin of that river. And another is, and the recently now coming, is the urban flooding, the flood situation in the major cities. So we have to deal with separately with a different kind of planning. Again, we will go in detail in that. First, we talk about the basin level approach. We cannot deal with the local areas and mitigate the flood measures only say around the Koyna Dam, around the Dome Dam, around the Radhanagri Dam. We have to consider all the tributaries meeting in the Krishna River and all the dams or any small ponds or any natural tanks available en route. Also, the inhabitation, the cities, the villages, cities situated at the banks of the river, their vulnerability, and considering all this data within that basin, then we have to plan how to control these floods. This is the approach always taken. We know the natural water which is available through the rains only. It should be efficiently used. We have two kinds of sources, surface water which we store in the dams and the groundwater. The groundwater storage shall also be created, those should be recharged and again reused by pumping it out. So it is another kind of storage, and that is a better storage than the surface storage because the surface storage uh, goes waste due to evaporation in a major way. During the summer season in Vidarbha area, almost 40% of the stored water in the dams goes by evaporation. The situation is not similar for groundwater storage. So we should prefer to and try maximum to store water underground so that we can safely preserve and reuse it whenever we are in need. So the conjunctive planning should be used for surface and groundwater. Similarly, the planning for irrigated lands and for rainfed agriculture, those are also done separately, considering their own norms. Simultaneously, the water and soil conservation, groundwater management, rainwater harvesting, recharge of groundwater. These are the tools to effectively uh, sustain uh, these water storages. And these are all parts of flood management only. Unless we do all these basic things, the flood will not get aggravated or can be kept in control for the rest of the things. The other sources to get the water. When we talk about the water, the similar like to the flood situation, we also think of the drought situation. So in that, if the average annual rainfall itself is very less in particular area throughout the decades, then we need to think to bring water from some other sources, like importing the water. At some sources where there is ample of water, we can export water from this area to the area where there is a drought situation or where there is less water available. Again, some measures like desalination is also there. In Gulf countries, they convert the seawater, the saline water, by removing the salt from that water and utilize them for the domestic and industrial usages. So these are the other sources which we can tap after the proper water planning, which is available naturally at the source itself. Another measure for this kind of mitigation is priority of water usages. In the given quantum of the water, of the allotted water, we can say, we should try to use the water giving priority according to their own needs, particularly at that time. Then only we can efficiently use it with minimum losses and leakages. We always try to match the demand and the supply of the water. So the management of the planning should be such that it should be demand-based water management for all the sectors. That means how much is the supply, and based on that the distribution should not be the way. Otherwise, there cannot be the efficiency in the utilization of the water. So your demand should be less so that the water can be utilized or distributed for the larger areas in the same given quantum of the water. So this is the basis of the principle of the planning. The infrastructure management, the infrastructure we created like dams, canals, and other systems, water storages, water distribution systems, all those should be maintained in a very good position without any leakages and other things. It should be metered, they quantumize, and then we can efficiently use that water. We also need to have the integrated management, that means coordination of all the water stakeholders, all the government departments, including the citizens and the local bodies. We can also try the synchronized flood management. The flood control through various dams is done simultaneously during the monsoon period. Those can be synchronized to reduce the impact of the flood. From some dams, the water can be released earlier. After passing that, then the water from the another dam can be released. So this way, and this can also be digitized. So this way also, the flood management can be done very efficiently. Water literacy, again, is a major factor. Every person should know the preciousness of the importance of the water and about the usages and its efficient use. So this awareness shall be created, and also how to deal in the case of the disastrous situations. That training is also to be given to all under this water literacy program. We should also try to maintain the quality of the water. That means we should not pollute the water, may it be in the rivers, in some storages, anywhere. Simultaneously, we shall also try not to encroach upon the rivers or the ponds or the tanks. We should try to rejuvenate them by restoring their natural position, their widths, their depths, by desilting or by widening. So all these measures can be also taken. The use of latest technologies are there for better flood management. We can talk that maybe separately. There are many technologies available these days. And of course, not the least, the people's participation is most important in this flood management. This is the flood management at the basin level. Now, if you talk about the urban flood management systems, where the floods are 100% man-made because we are already encroached upon the natural river drainage system within the city areas. The small nalas or small tributaries also. We have narrowed down, we have put debris and many things into that. There are many hurdles for the flood water to pass in, and that's why many disasters have occurred. You might have read about the Ambiloda disaster in the last 2 3 years in Pune city itself, where the natural course was totally leveled in the last portion of that nala, and that's why the water spread out and the flood situation occurred. The water couldn't recede and lasted there for 2 3 days together. So this situation is certainly created by ourselves, which we should try to avoid. The main cause of urban flooding is the drainage pattern and its feeder streams, those get affected. So that's why the flash flood comes, the flood plains are submerged where we build the huge buildings and again create the obstructions to the flood water to go. The uh, accumulation of local rainfall runoffs due to insufficient drainage system is there. Lack of sufficient structured and unstructured drainage for flood waters. So these are many reasons for the urban flooding. I think I should not go in detail in that. We all know. We have proposed a three-tier system for urban stormwater drainage. It's a possible solution for that. So that where a fast disposal of rainwater with the help of well-designed stormwater system is necessary to protect the habitat area free of flooding. The system should be designed with sufficient capacity and slopes to discharge the flood water from habitat areas into the natural drain. So there are three types of drains. The primary drains, which are around the buildings, open plots, which carry water out of the plots. The secondary network connected to the primary is the roadside gutters. The open drains received this flood water and discharged into nearby natural drains like bigger streams and nalas. And the tertiary level, which is again further connected to the secondary network, is all this water lead to deep nalas, tributaries, and the main river. If we try to implement this three-tier system as a separate stormwater drainage system, not mixed up with our regular drainage system, which is for sewage and sewage. And all these systems should be open. It cannot be a closed through closed conduits or like that. So this system works very well, and it can be designed in a such a way that it can be designed for various rainfall patterns. Suppose this system, one system in says particularly Sangli city is designed for 50 rainfall. That means 50 rainfall if occurred in that city, then within hours the entire flood water will get washed away and sent into the natural drains or in the big river, and the city will be clean and clear. The same system can also be designed for 75 rainfall, for 100 rainfall also, depending upon the need and the planning. So this way we can handle the urban flooding situations. When the system works well during the stoppage of the rainfall, it disposes of rainwater and runoff quickly and becomes ready to receive next spell of rains. So these systems have been implemented in various cities of India very successfully. Another new concepts are there for urban flood management. One is pond city concept. So this is kind of connecting existing lakes, tanks, abandoned quarries by integrating them with city stormwater drainage system for temporarily storing the flood water. I think these concepts, pond city and the another Sing city concepts, are very much necessary now, particularly in Krishna Basin, because the geographical situation is like that. The out of the total catchment area of the basin, only one-third of the catchment is upstream of the dams. Take any dam from Koyna Dam, even for Dome Dam, even other Urmudi and other dams. So only 25% of the catchment area is the upstream of the dam, and two-thirds of the area is below the dams even up to the Krishna River crosses our Maharashtra state border. There is no control on the flood water or the water passing through the rivers using the dams. So where there is no such dams are available, this pond city concept can very well be implemented and utilized nicely for flood control. So, in case of intense rainfall and when the city drains are found insufficient to carry all flood waters, it can be stored temporarily by diverting it partially into such lakes and ponds. And when the flood recedes, this water can be diverted back into the streams. So they act like a small dams for the temporary storages, as like the sponge receives the water, holds it, and when we squeeze, it lets out. So similar concept can be implemented successfully. Many such ideas have been successfully implemented in Japan and many other European countries also. Another Sing City concept is there, which is implemented particularly in Hyderabad and now being implemented in Bangalore city also. Particularly in floodplains, which is always low-lying areas. So by utilizing low-lying areas, open grounds, even open spaces around the buildings, pavement areas to store flood water temporarily and make it percolate into the ground for recharge. That means the part of the flood water is temporarily stored under the ground, and for that we need to keep the surfaces open to percolate that water easily. Normally, in all urban cities, we try to cover all the open spaces, the pavements, by some tiling or some concreting, cementization, which stops the rainwater going into the ground. And that's why the flood water level increases, because if the part of the flood doesn't go into the ground, it rises the upper flood level on the surface. And that's how the floods are aggravated. So using this concept also, we can control these flood situations in some ways. But for that, the concrete pavements, lining to the drains, RCC retaining walls, and other such constructions shall be strictly banned, which stops percolations into the ground. Now, we come to the last part of this presentation. We will take a case study of our Krishna Basin. What are the reasons of occurrences, mitigation measures? First, we have discussed the geography and natural constraints. Particularly in Krishna Basin, we will see there are mountains around the Sangli and Kolhapur cities, the major cities in that basin, and all the tributaries meeting to the Krishna River. Their valleys are very deep and narrow. So that's why they contribute the floods coming simultaneously into the Krishna River. Again, the all tributaries meet the Krishna River just in the reach of 30 kilometers. The total length is around more than 150 kilometers altogether. But all these major tributaries, including Yerala from the left side, then the Varna, the Koyna, the Panchaganga, and many other rivers, they meet only in a 30-kilometer reach. This is a typical situation in that particular basin. The cities like Sangli and Kolhapur, they are situated right on the banks of the rivers on the both sides, and they are also in the low-lying areas of floodplains. So that is creating a major problem, and they are always facing these flood situations, even for the smaller rainfalls. And as I have discussed earlier, the downstream catchment areas of the dams are very large. Almost two-thirds of the basin is below the dams, and there is no control on these floods. So we have to do some mitigation measures like the concept of sponge cities and connecting different lakes and existing tanks, or even we can build small tanks or dams in that area to temporarily store the flood water and control it. Another point is the rivers originating from Sahyadri Mountains are having steep slopes in initial reaches, and when it comes to the cities, they suddenly become very flat. The initial slopes are almost in the range of 1 in 20 to 1 in 50. And when it comes down, the slope becomes almost 1 in 300, 500, or even more. So the silt they carry along with them, those get settled in these downstream reaches of the rivers, and that is particularly near about these cities. And that's how the river beds have been raised, and accordingly, the flood water levels, the highest flood level, those have also been increased. We have collected the data while working on that study committees that these flood levels have been increased up to 1.5 meter only because of this siltation in last few years. So these are the situations. So these reasons we must try to understand, and then only we can do the proper mitigation measures to overcome them. These are the natural reasons where the encroachments are always there in all the rivers in along the banks for construction of the buildings or by dumping the debris, by diverting the flows, by narrowing their natural sizes. And while doing development also, we don't observe or follow the flood lines or the prohibited areas of the floods. We build the buildings in the flood lines itself. And again, when the flood hits, then the losses are more because of that. We will see some photographs. This is the photograph of Kolhapur city. Even you can find the original course, couldn't find the original course of the Panchanga River itself, which is surrounding the area, and the flood couldn't recess almost for 10 days during 2019 floods. This is the situation in Sangli, the major market road, where almost first floor was underwater. And this also, the flood water couldn't recede in few days. Now I will show the situation, particularly with the help of these maps. We can see the various rivers from the upstream of the Kolhapur, like this Kasari, Panchaganga, Dhamni, Tulsi, and many others. And they are passing from the near city of the Kolhapur. The Varna Dam, Varna River is coming from the upstream, Sahyadri, and is meeting near Sangli. From the main Krishna River, which is rises originate from Mahabaleshwar, here comes with the other tributaries like Venna, Ormodi, and others. And in between, the Koyna also meets there at Karad. So up to Karad, all these rivers are having very steep slope, and they are running very fast. When they comes beyond the Karad, the slope becomes very flatter, and up from Karad to Sangli and further up to Rajapur. Rajapur is our state boundary. This map is of the entire Krishna River up to Almaty Dam. So Rajapur is the state boundary. So up to that point, the flood water gets spread over in the circle of Sangli, Kolhapur, and Rajapur in that particular area. We can get it more clear in the next slide. These are the different sub-basins of the tributaries of the main Krishna River, which are divided by for the calculation purpose by CWC. Here are all the list of all the tributaries and rivers meeting to the Krishna River. Here we can see this is a topography of that basin, where the red is the hilly area and the green part is the low-lying area where the river flows. So all these small sub-basins and their basins meet between these Sangli and Kolhapur, that 30-kilometer reach, and the large spread of the flood plain, almost 50 to 60 kilometers of diameter. That was we have observed during the aerial survey, where the water was stagnated for days together and couldn't recede below the Rajapur because of the further constraints. So this is the situation. Here we can see the Sangli, Kolhapur, and the other villages also near about, how they get affected due to these floods. And the remedial measures, as we have discussed already, is to stop the encroachments, to clear the natural drainage systems, control the pollutions, and these are standard. Now there is nothing new or no any other solution is required than to control these things and further uh, get the water free flow into the river. Here we can see some situations below the Sangli area where the meanders of the river are in a large number, where we can make some bypasses. These are the mitigation measures suggested by our study committee. Like we do bypass highways for the major cities from outside of the city area. Similarly, we can dig some bypass channels to the main river from the outside of the city areas, habitat areas, where we can divert the part of the floods through such diversions, and the minimum flood passes through the original river, passing through the cities. So, in these such cases, you can see this meander coming from the left side, and it's almost meeting here. So, in between, the two ends can be met out by digging a channel and cut short. The water can pass fast, flood water through that channel, and the flood situation can be controlled. So these are the measures which are suggested, and the works are now being done. This is another situation of meander where at the center you can see after that meander, this vertical cut has been proposed. In fact, near that Kurundwad, one effort was taken by the Rajarshi Shahu Maharaj to construct such a tunnel to bypass the floods through that channel. The work of that execution of the work was also started, partially done, and that we could easily trace using the satellite imagery from that area and even as today. And by comparing them, we could easily locate that line which was planned in his era. So such mitigation measures can also be implemented on a large scale. This is another meander, again in the same area near about. So in this way, we can execute some flood control works to mitigate these measures. So finally, considering all these situations, the global phenomena, the natural disasters, the climate change, their adverse impacts, the basic reason is only because we are interfering the cycles of the nature, which in fact gives us their natural resources free of cost for us and also to other species, which we conveniently forgot to keep some resources reserved for them. Even we have to give back to the nature some of them after taking only what is required for us. So unless we stop this interference in the nature, the nature will give hit back us by giving signals through the natural disasters. So we have to adapt with this situation. We have to learn to live with the nature, to give back to the nature, and to secure our Mother Earth for our future generations. Thank you very much. I think if there are some doubts, questions, you can freely ask.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good
This is
afternoon.
Amol Pawar. Thank you for very nice and interactive session. I just wanted to ask that as we are moving to more climate change and
Hmm.
different flooding patterns,
Hmm.
how we can be adaptable to such floods?
How we?
Can be adaptable to such floods
Yeah,
because uh, you told rightly that Sangli we have the problem of Almaty. Similarly, Kolhapur is also facing too much of problem
right,
because of the continuous unusual pattern of rainfall and water in the western Maharashtra. So
right.
how we can cope up with this
Well,
in terms of say flood routing, design of systems, and as you rightly said, the urban flooding is because of the natural drainage pattern being diverted. So how
right.
we can correlate this to
So
avoid?
the answer lies in your question only. You only have explained what we shall do to mitigate these floods. See, there are two things. We can do some structural measures and some non-structural measures.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So when the experts have given, the government has given guidelines that these are the prohibited zones, these are the flood lines. So in that area, we should strictly obey and follow those rules. We should not, right from beginning, should not construct any buildings or any development in that area. We should be far away. We should basically know which are the levels of these floods so that we can.
ब्लेम करतात त्यापेक्षा
Hello. So this is the one kind of treatment or the measure to take. And another is when the flood occurs, in that situation, by anticipating how much flood level will come, accordingly, we can be prepared by shifting our valuables or by
Yes, sir.
going ourselves
And
to the
sir,
other areas. Some,
one more question.
yeah, please.
If organizers allow, uh,
Mhm.
do these fund cities, what concept you have told,
Hmm.
are economically viable, sir?
Of course, there is a very minimum expenditure needed because the tanks are already and naturally available in the cities. We
Okay.
counted in the Kolhapur city itself, except Rankala and others, we only knew few tanks. There are almost 45 tanks in the Kolhapur city itself which need to be rejuvenated, some kind of deepened, desilted them, and then we can interconnect them where they, by checking the levels, they naturally water should go by gravity from one lake to the another. And while passing this flood water to all these tanks, certainly we get sufficient time so that the river doesn't get flooded. The measure of the flood can be passed away through that point, and then this excess water stored in the temporarily in the small tanks can go back later. So this is the
Okay.
very concept of that. Very minimum expenditure in Japan, and certainly it is financially viable.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for addressing my question. Thank you. Nice session.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
What changes in general we can expect in the town planning legislations or development plan preparations so that there will be less flooding in the new towns or the areas which will be developed
Yes.
in future?
Yes, sir. Very nice question. Actually, this is the integrated part of integrated planning. Floodplain Zoning Act is now under discussion and under sanction by the government, where all the developments will be connected to these flood lines, flood situations, and will be dealt together with all the concerned departments. So accordingly, we have given the flood lines to the city master development plan, and the responsibility of the divisional commissioner or the local authorities is that these lines should be overlapped on that plan, and then while passing the building plan for the construction purpose, they have strictly avoid these prohibited areas, the cementitious construction in the river courses, to not to disturb the natural drainage systems within the that area, and also design the stormwater floods drainage system separately for the new areas. So all these measures are now covered under this new floodplain zoning act, and this will be implemented according to the master development plan. So both the departments will be controlling these developments in future.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any participants who want to give live feedback or ask query regarding this session? Any participant wants to give a live feedback to sir?
Yes, sir. This session was really helpful and knowledgeable, sir. Your experience is helping us to know all the practical constraints, or we can say planning, and the minute observations and the efforts of the various departments in the flood management. So this particular issue is very, we can say, hot or dangerous in the days ahead. But still, sir's observations and minute guidelines are really helpful for us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, sir. On the behalf of organizing committee, I, Rajguru Kamble, Assistant Professor at Department of Civil Engineering, Dr. Davlatrao Ahir College of Engineering, Karad, I take this opportunity to express our sincere and heartfelt gratitude to Engineer Rajendra Pawar, sir, for his insightful and informative lecture on the topic flood disasters, reasons, mitigation measures, and the institutional roles. Sir, your detailed explanation of the institutional framework of the disaster management authorities and other management systems, along with its strategic role in the flood preparedness, response, mitigation, and the management, have given us a valuable clarity to the practical understanding. The real life examples, case studies, and emphasis on the coordination among the agencies made this session highly engaging and meaningful. We also extend our sincere thanks to all the participants for joining the session and for their active participation and enthusiastic engagement throughout the program. Your questions, attention, and the interaction greatly contributed to the success of this session. I request all the participants to fill the feedback form which is present in your chat box. And once again, we will thank you, Rajendra Pawar sir, for sharing his time, knowledge, and experience with us. We are really truly grateful for your guidance. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interact with you all. And I would certainly appreciate if you can share your feedback to me so that for the improvement of myself again for the next thing. Certainly we will be in touch and together. Thanks once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Bye.